The OpenAI language model, which drives Microsoft's now relatively lobotomized Bing AI, is said to exhibit sparks of artificial general intelligence. This claim was made in a research report that was released shortly after the release publicly of GPT-4. And here we're going to summarize the report so you don't have to go through all 154 pages. With an emphasis on the term sparks, in their study, the researchers are mindful to describe GPT-4's abilities as only a first step towards a series of increasingly generally intelligent systems, instead of fully developed human-level AI. The fact that this work is based on an early version of GPT-4, which they tested while it was still in active development by OpenAI, rather than necessarily the version that's been tamed into product-applicable formation, was also constantly emphasized. Over the past few years, the expansions of artificial intelligence have been concentrated on the large language models, neural networks, and are trained to predict the next word in a phrase. However, the most recent iterations of these models, such as GPT-4, demonstrate their capabilities extend beyond simple word prediction. The most recent LLMs appear to exhibit an almost complete awareness of the outside world, as well as a comprehension of the syntax and semantics of the majority of human languages. The Microsoft research team presents both the unique qualities of GPT-4 and some of its drawbacks in this study. Approach. The research contends, we aim to generate novel and difficult tasks and questions that convincingly demonstrate that GPT-4 goes far beyond memorization and that it has a deep and flexible understanding of concepts, skills, and domains. A somewhat similar approach was also proposed in CWF22. We also aim to probe GPT-4's responses and behaviors to verify its consistency, coherence, and correctness, and to uncover its limitations and biases. We acknowledge that this approach is somewhat subjective and informal, and that it may not satisfy the rigorous standards of scientific evaluation. However, we believe that it is a useful and necessary first step to appreciate the remarkable capabilities and challenges of GPT-4, and that such a first step opens up new opportunities for developing more formal and comprehensive methods for testing and analyzing AI systems with more general intelligence. The goal was to test the model's reasoning, planning, problem-solving, ability to learn rapidly and through experience, abstract thoughts and conceptual understanding. It's been shown in the report with the help of several examples. GPT-4 was trained exclusively with text as opposed to AI image generators like DALL-E 2, which was trained with pictures. GPT-4 has the capacity to draw what is requested using programming. One may argue that the model had just memorized the code for drawing a cat and would use that code if instructed to do so. However, a number of further tests indicate that it can comprehend visual activities. Interaction with the world. GPT-4 and other models can't respond to simple present-day questions like, who is the current president of the United States, since they weren't trained with recent data. Additionally, the model finds it difficult to derive the square root of two large integers and other symbolic operations. GPT-4 may browse the internet and probably discover the correct response to a question on a recent occurrence given the right prodding, and it can also do symbolic operations. This suggests that GPT-4 can employ a variety of methods to arrive at the right solution. Game development. The paper claims that GPT-4 develops a playable game in a zero-shot method when given a goal to construct a 3D game of some complexity. ChatGPT, in contrast, responds that it is unable to. When a difficult game is discussed, the attacker is attempting to surge towards you and the defender is attempting to block the enemy. According to various reports, GPT-4 may be used to create missions and quests in addition to NPCs. It is possible to generate new missions, quests, and conversations that seem natural and attach the player to the gaming world in novel ways by training the program on an existing in-game plot and character interactions. Developers may provide a thrillingly immersive encounter that entices gamers to return for more by skillfully integrating GPT-4 and cutting-edge design. GPT-4 in mathematics. Researchers put GPT-4 to the test with data from the 2022 International Mathematics Olympiad, which was not in its database. Since there is no obvious starting point, addressing this issue takes a more creative approach to solve an exceedingly difficult mathematical questionnaire. It does make simple calculation errors while doing maths questions, as the study notes, but keep in mind that the paper demonstrated that it could utilize a calculator if one were provided. Additionally, the research determines that GPT-4 does mathematics far better than earlier models, including ones that were specifically trained and optimized for the subject. They also draw the conclusion that the model is incapable of doing mathematical research because it's still much below the level of professionals. Interactions with humans. Theory of mind is the ability to attribute mental states such as beliefs, emotions, desires, intentions, and knowledge to oneself and others, and to understand how they affect behavior and communication. It includes the basic task of reflecting on someone else's mental states and the more advanced tasks of reflecting on someone's reflection of someone else's mental state, and so on. Theory of mind is essential for effective communication and cooperation with other intelligent agents, as it allows one to infer their goals, preferences, motives, and expectations, and to adjust one's own actions and utterances accordingly. Moreover, theory of mind is also important for learning from others, as it enables one to interpret their feedback, advice, and demonstrations. The report states that the GPT-4's interaction with humans is done on the basis of theory of mind. The team developed a series of tests to assess the theory of mind skills of GPT-4, ranging from very simple to highly sophisticated realistic scenarios of extremely challenging social settings. They came to the conclusion that GPT-4 possesses a sophisticated theory of mind. In more realistic settings, it may consider numerous actors and how different acts could affect their mental states. The team admits that its testing was not entirely thorough. For instance, they did not assess the capacity to comprehend non-verbal clues like gestures. Discriminative capabilities. Discrimination is a component of intelligence that allows an agent to make distinctions between different stimuli, concepts, and situations. This ability, in turn, enables the agent to understand and respond to various aspects of their environment in a more effective manner. For example, the ability to discriminate between different types of foods can help an animal identify which are safe to eat and which could be poisonous. Overall, the ability to discriminate is important because it allows one to make more accurate judgments and decisions, which is a crucial component of intelligence. By challenging the model to identify personally identifiable information, the researchers evaluated the model's discriminative skills. They applied the following test. Given a certain text, count the number of PII containing segments and identify those segments. Given that it is unclear what personally identifiable information actually is, this test is a bit challenging. Since PII is context-specific, the team arrives at a conclusion that it is a very simple task for the model, and the outcomes produced by GPT-4 reasonably agree with those reached by an individual carrying out the same task. Limitations of GPT-4. In what comes next, we'll try to argue that one of the main limitations of the model is that the architecture does not allow for an inner dialogue or a scratchpad beyond its internal representations that could enable it to perform multi-step computations and store immediate results. The team contends that GPT-4's lack of inner dialogue is its biggest drawback. The model could carry out multi-step calculations and store intermediate outcomes while determining the right solution if it had an inner dialogue. Human expertise, job, and economies. The remarkable performance of GPT-4 on a spectrum of tasks and domains will challenge the traditional notions and assumptions about the relative expertise of humans and machines in many roles, ranging across numerous professional and scholarly fields. The introduction of GPT-4, along with other LLMs, has ushered in a period of investment and acceptance of new technology that hasn't been witnessed in quite some time. Millions of people worldwide use GPT-4's predecessors in both professional as well as non-professional contexts. It'll be interesting to watch how this technology affects professional positions and how quickly society adopts these new responsibilities. The research concludes with overall elucidating the nature and mechanisms of AI systems such as GPT-4 is a formidable challenge that has suddenly become important and urgent. The team has discovered the wonders that GPT-4 is capable of. However, they are yet to figure out how to bring them to efficient use. What are your thoughts on OpenAI's GPT-4?